let's talk a little Auburn baseball. So you went out and watched them scrimmage a little bit over the weekend, and then obviously they go into action. What's the name of the tournament? It is the State Farm College Baseball Showdown out in Arlington, Texas. So we'll talk about that as well. But let's start with what you saw when you went to Plainsman Park to kind of do a little scouting on our team.
Yeah. So one, the pitching had a really good day on Saturday, and it's customary for pitchers to look better than hitters at this time of the year, simply because it's harder to get your timing right with the machine in the offseason for a hitter. Pitchers, you're throwing the ball the same. So the pitchers looked really good. I especially was impressed with Hayden Mullins. So Hayden Mullins is a guy, and if you read last Friday's piece about Auburn baseball on Auburn Daily, we talked about him a bit, but he's a guy that I can tell over the summer and the fall, he's really worked on some of his pitches. So his motion's a little jerkier, a little more abrupt, but he's gotten a little bit more velocity in there. And his curveball is a little deeper, drops a little more. Only threw a few sliders. The slider looked good. I didn't see enough of them to really kind of know for sure. But the way that he threw, they actually had him come in out of the bullpen as a piggyback situation. But the way that he threw, I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the three guys that starts in Arlington this upcoming weekend. And then the infield for Auburn is pretty much set. They had Blake Rambush at third, Brody Moore at short, Garrett Farquhar at second, and Sonny DeCharia, the transfer from Samford, at first. And I was a little bit surprised when we talked to Short King Ryan Blitz last year, and every time I've talked to him since then, he's been very impressed with Garrett Farquhar's defense. So he's a guy I kind of naturally slotted in. Okay, he's probably going to be the shortstop, but Brody Moore has taken that job and run with it. Garrett Farquhar, they turned a couple double plays on Saturday, looked phenomenal. I was very impressed with that. And then Auburn's put a big emphasis so far in spring practice on the running game. I saw them multiple times this weekend practice a hit and run, practice a double steal, things like that. So I expect it's something where Auburn is looking for – they're confident. From talking to folks in the program, they're confident in the bats. They're confident in the offense. But I look for them, especially earlier in the season, to try to find some ways to generate more runs through small ball. I saw somebody practice a bunt situation. Like I said, a lot of the running stuff. So I expect that this offense is probably not going to look like midseason form when we start off, because you never see it like that. But I feel good about where the pitching is. I'm really excited to see who they actually have as the starter on Friday, on Saturday, and on Sunday. And I can't think of better matchups to test out where this team is than Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Kansas State.
All right, so give us a guess on what do you think the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters? Who will they be?
That is a good question.
And we've seen this with, a lot of teams do this, but Butch definitely does. I mean, it takes him a while to kind of get everything settled in. I mean, he is not afraid to use the non-conference schedule to just play around with pitching rotations and things like that. So, I mean, it's going to change a million times. But if you had to guess, what do you think it'll be?
All right. So if I had to guess, I think you're going to see Mason Barnett one day. You're going to see Hayden Mullins, I think, is going to, by the SEC play, is going to be one of the starters. Trace Bright, I think, is going to be probably your Sunday guy to start the season off. I don't know if he's going to stick in that role or not. Joseph Gonzalez is a guy that I want to start. I think he has the most promise of anybody else. I love Joseph Gonzalez. He's prone to big innings sometimes, which Trace Bright is too. I watched him get into a 2-on, no-out jam over the weekend. But Carson Skipper's a guy that I think would be a good starter. I don't know if they're going to use him there or not. What I'm really excited for, and we haven't seen a ton of him yet this spring because he's still recovering from a partial Tommy John, but transfer from Notre Dame, Tommy Sheehan. He lost most of 2021. I think he got hurt in his second start last year for Notre Dame. So didn't pitch at all the rest of the year. From what I've heard, from what I've seen, he's looked really good this spring. I don't think he's ready to start the season with a standard workload, but I think by SEC play, he's probably going to be your Saturday guy, if not your Friday guy. He's got more than 30 starts at a high level in the ACC, pitched really well. I'm really impressed with what he can do. His curveball looks good. His fastball has actually added velocity. So I think by the midpoint of the season, he's probably going to be your Friday or Saturday guy.
Cool. All right. So let's look ahead at this weekend. The State Farm College Baseball Showdown. Auburn will take on Oklahoma on Friday. On Saturday, they will take on a ranked Texas Tech team. And then on Sunday, they play Kansas State. So let's just spend about just a few seconds on each of these matchups.
Yeah. So Oklahoma is a team. They went into 2021, similar situation as us. Lost some pitchers, had to kind of figure out the rotation. They got mixed results. They're bringing back 2 of those guys, but they also brought in some transfers trying to figure out who's going to be the guys. So pitching, they have talent, but a lot of the guys that they have there aren't necessarily proven. There's an opportunity to score runs against Oklahoma, so we're going to need the bats to do this. And we're going to need the bats because their offense is pretty good. They've got a good core, bringing back a lot of veterans. They've got bringing back all their corner infielders, bringing back a shortstop, bringing back a catcher, and a lot of guys that took this team to regionals last year. They've got some impact bats. There's one guy, freshman Cade Horton. He's a guy that I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but I'm going to be concerned if he's in there. He's a DH that can just hit absolute tanks. And he also moonlights for them in the bullpen, which is just, he's a big threat. If they don't have him, I like our chances, but we're going to have to score runs against Oklahoma. We're going to be able to, but they're going to be able to do it as well. So we absolutely have to keep up offensively.
All right. And that's also called the Sonny Galladay Bowl.
That absolutely is the Sonny Galladay Bowl.
Where I can just sit. If you're going to this, you can just sit next to an Oklahoma fan and just complain about Sonny.
Isn't Sonny the worst?
Yeah.
Isn't Galladay the worst? He's coaching at a high school in Oklahoma now.
Good for him. I hope he is better to those children than he was to. Never mind. All right. Who else?
All right. So Texas Tech, ranked team, had a great year last year. And I think the big thing here is Jace Young. So they have the reigning Big 12 player of the year. This kid is a second baseman, hit 337 last year, OPS of over 1,000. So a lot of power, great offensively. You're definitely going to have to work around him. They have a lot of guys that are veterans, but are slotting into new roles. So, guys who they were a backup or was a utility guy. Well, now he's starting. So they still have some questions about, who was going to hit around Jace Young and returning first baseman Cole Stillwell. Still need to figure that out. So offensively, this is the game where Auburn pitching has a chance to go in, throw them some different looks, and really kind of mess with them. We're probably going to catch them with Brandon Birdsell on the mound. He missed the second half of last season, and he's, I think, by far their best pitcher. I just don't necessarily know if they're going to have him start the very first game of the year on Friday, simply because he is coming back from injury. So I think having him on Saturday is going to be a challenge for us. They did bring in a transfer from Colorado Mesa. The kid went 9-0 at 2.19 ERA and had double the number of strikeouts to innings pitched. So he's a strikeout threat. I think we're going to avoid him on Friday, thankfully. But they have a good bullpen. It's going to be important for us to get after the pitcher, get after him early, and then have the offense shut down those 2 big guys and work around everybody else.
All right, and then just quickly on K-State.
K-State, yeah. They did not make the tournament last year. A little frustrated. Also lost a lot of guys out of that rotation. They were a senior-laden team, so they do have a veteran, Connor McCullough, to lead the rotation, fourth year sophomore. Not quite sure how that works. I'm still trying to figure that out. But yeah, brought in transfers as well. And then they have some freshman arms. So I think this is one, your offense is going to have to frustrate these pitchers. It's going to have to go in and I expect us to make a big emphasis on fouling balls off, getting late in the counts, working at bats deep to wear these pitchers down. Offensively, a lot of speed on this team, not a ton of pop. So being defensively sound is going to be big. You're going to see balls in the gap. You're going to see them taking extra bases, stealing bases. You're going to have to be defensively sound to win this game against Kansas State.
Got it. Reasonable expectations going into this weekend. Is the goal 2-1? Is that a reasonable goal to have?
The goal is 2-1, and the hinge game is Oklahoma. I see us probably losing to Texas Tech. I see us probably beating Kansas State. The question is going to be, what do we do in that first game against Oklahoma? If they can win that game, I like them to come out of the weekend 2-1.
Okay, so if we're 2-1, we're happy.
We're 2-1, we're happy. If you happen to beat Texas Tech and lose to the other two, I'd still be happy because Texas Tech, I think, is going to be is probably going to make it, if not to Omaha, pretty close next year. So 2-1 or 1-2 if you beat Texas Tech.